Hi, and welcome to another Hollywoke hot take. All things Hollywood, all things Hollywoke. With me and Little Joan. Smash a like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out the Pineys. Now, actor Jon Voight is to present President Trump with a plan to increase film and TV production in the United States. And this I gotta hear. So, just last week, the Gateway Pundit, that's what this is from, reported there are people working in the entertainment industry in Hollywood who are afraid that LA could end up becoming the next Detroit. It pretty much is, except for the movie industry. California has made it so expensive and difficult to do business that the film and TV industry is constantly moving productions to other countries that offer tax breaks. Well, in other states, too. Just after being elected, Trump appointed Jon Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone as special ambassadors to Hollywood. Where's Gibson and Stallone? Get off your duffs. Jon Voight's doing something. So he's going to offer some recommendations on Trump, how to keep film and TV production in the United States. So this is also his manager, Stephen Paul, has a plan to present ideas to Trump as early as next week to help increase film and TV production. He plans to propose the plans to propose may include infrastructure incentives, tax code changes, and job training, all while exceeding tax credits that states usually offer. It's important that we compete with what's going on around the world, so there needs to be some sort of federal incentives, Paul said. In January, Trump named Voight special ambassador to Hollywood, along with Gibson and Stallone. Trump referred to Hollywood as a great but very troubled place. Currently, states compete with general tax credits in order to lure film productions. The group wants national initiatives to help U.S. win business over other countries. In the clip below, Rob Lowe talks about how California's current leadership has made it clear to impossible to make movies and TV shows in the state. So, it's criminal what California and LA have let happen. It's criminal. Everybody should be fired, says Rob Lowe. Calling corrupt politicians like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass for chasing away the entertainment industry. How about destroying the city? Yeah, they don't give an F about movies. So, the only use you are to them is to get them elected. That's it. That was the only thing you were useful for. And now that usefulness is rapidly coming to an end. Rapidly. So, am I behind this? No. I don't think the U.S. government needs subsidies in film. Now, if you want to eliminate taxes, I'm all for it. Eliminate them all. It's the taxes that are part of the problem. But, you can't eliminate the state tax as part of the problem. You would have to give the states their own incentives to eliminate taxes. So, let's say Trump says, okay, we're going to offer a $10,000 tax credit to any production in the United States. Well, all the states will know that. And they'll immediately turn around and say, well, we're going to impose a $5,000 tax on new productions, let's say. Because they know you're getting $10,000. So they want half of it. That's exactly what's going to happen. 100%. Now, there might be a couple of states that are so desperate for business, say like Alabama, where people don't really shoot a lot of movies, places like that. Places that are insanely expensive, like California, or a place like Connecticut, Rhode Island. You ever hear a movie being shot there? Not too many. They might not try to take it all or half. They'll try to take a part of it though. They'll slap on an easy $1,000, easy, because they'll see that as, oh, you're getting money. Well, we'll take some of that. That's the problem. What needs to happen is someone in one of these states as well as the federal government, needs to just go, yeah, just do what you want. We're not going to tax you at all. So I would say to New Jersey, the next governor, God willing, it won't be a Democrat, should come in and say, yeah, you can shoot all the movies you want here for free. We're not going to tax you at all. Unless you use, say, I don't know, a state park or something, then we'll charge you some sort of fee. But, if you want to just shoot movies here, you're not going to need a permit or whatever. I mean, in some cities, you might need permits just to keep, streets closed or whatever. But, because you might need police security, and that costs money. That's not free. Although a lot of cops don't do anything all day except sit in speed traps. But if they're going to be used on, say, directing traffic around a movie set, then yeah, the production should pay the town or city something. The problem is everybody's got their hand in a cookie jar, right? So, a local town might charge something, but then the county might want something, the state might want something. It depends on how big the production is and how much, how much exposure it is. If it's a big Hollywood production, their eyes turn into dollar signs, and then they're just going to say, oh, give us money, 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 money. And it's not like they don't deserve it. A lot of Hollywood productions come into an area and they wreck the place and they don't clean up. I would provide those tax incentives based on, if I was running the state, I would say, look, you can shoot here, but there's an understanding that when you leave, you're going to leave the place as you found it. And if you don't, well, you're not getting your money, or you're going to face fines. I would do it, for instance, I would say I was going to charge a production $5,000 to shoot in a state park. Well, I would say, okay, what you had to do is you have to give us $10,000. And if you wreck the place, we're going to keep some of the extra $5,000. If you do a good job and put all the owls back on their branches, we'll give you a full $5,000 back or more, or whatever. I don't know what the math would be. You'd have to figure it out, but so Voight going to the president and saying, hey, let's provide some national tax incentives. I mean, it's not the worst idea, but it's not really going to do much. There's so many things involved in a production that can get taxed or requires permitting and unions. If you really wanted to open up, you could say something like, you can shoot any movie you want with union people whenever you want to do it, and union people aren't obligated to, for instance, report that they're doing a non-union job. I don't know how legal that would be, or it's not really a law against it. It's just the union gets mad if you do it. They kick you out of the union. I mean, if they weren't allowed to kick you out of the union, then the union would be utterly useless. So I'm not sure how you could get around unions. I think if you want to encourage film production here, I think local areas can. I think if a production is smaller than, let's say, $500,000, it shouldn't be taxed or, permitted to death. They should be allowed to shoot as long as they don't need cops, or as long as they're not damaging anything. Then I'm fine with a production doing whatever. Even on public land, as long as, again, there's no damage to that land that is being managed by the state. So it's hard. The real problem is the movies are terrible and nobody's going to see them. If you wanted to do something about theaters, that might help. You know, you could open the doors up to make it easier for people to open movie theaters. Again, that might come back to taxes. But again, even if you remove the federal taxes, there would be local and state taxes and laws that would get in the way. So, there's not a lot you can do. Maybe you could work with the states that would be cooperative in a venture. So if you had, let's say, 12 red states that wanted to be a part of whatever this is, they would join together to say, okay, we are not going to tax you, or we're going to tax you very little. We're not going to give you a hassle about permits or whatever. We might charge you various things to use public land, but as long as you're a good steward, that's not going to cost much, and lower the cost. Same thing with the movie theaters. That could work. You open up the movie theaters to the point at which, okay, you're not paying a lot of money. The facility doesn't need a lot of permits. It all comes back to taxes. Look, I run a small business, and everything that costs me money is a problem. If someone comes, if I go to an event and I have to pay for a table, that's a cost I have to balance with the amount of sales I'm going to get. If I feel that an event isn't worth $50, let's say, for a table, I can't do it. If I know I'm only going to sell 2 books at an event that costs me $50, I'm not going to do it. It's hard for me to do some of the horror shows because they have more expensive tables. They have tables that go $350. I got to sell a lot of books to break even, just to break even, and I'm not going to make, even if I make a profit, it's not going to be that much. I'm better off going to a smaller show or a venue that invited me and paid me to be there to sell books than to go to one of those shows. So to some extent, the show can price me out. And if you, for instance, said to Donald Trump, well, hey, you're pricing Tony out of these shows, why don't you subsidize the shows so he can get a table? That's really not going to help, because you might subsidize the tables, but they'll just raise the price eventually, knowing that I'm going to get, if you give me $300, it's a federal subsidy that I get $300 so I can go to horror shows. The horror shows are going to know that. They're going to ask for $600. And I'll be right back where I was. So eventually, they might not do it right away. I might catch a year or two and do well, but eventually they're going to catch on and go, oh, they're giving you a subsidy? Well, we could raise our table prices then. This is what happened with colleges. So I don't think a subsidy is the idea. The U.S. government does have, well, it did have a lot of money. You could make loans to finance movies cheap, maybe. You could loan the money, because that's what studios do. They borrow the money to shoot films. So you could loan the money at a rate of, say, the bonds, and if they're a good risk, and then make interest back when they pay the interest. Now that would take business away from the banks that they would normally do. So I'm not sure if we want to do that. The main problem with the movie industry is the movie experience is bad, and there's nothing really the federal government can do about that except make it easier to open a theater. But again, it all comes back to the state. So maybe if you could work with the states to clear the way, to clear out all this clutter, because even now, as Trump removes a lot of regulations, these states could look at that as an opportunity. Well, now they're not paying all those federal permits and taxes or whatever. Now we could up ours. And I think that's going to happen if it hasn't happened already. So, yeah, I don't know what the president can do at this point. The federal grants were supposed to be for art. You could create a grant, but then you'll eventually be right back where you started, where the left had a bunch of grants and only certain people got them. You could show more, for instance, at the Kennedy Center, you could have a Kennedy film competition. But again, these things always turn into the same thing. A group of cliquey people glad-handing each other. There's no real metric for talent a lot of times. And even if you say to the bureaucrats, you must pick the talented people, that's open to interpretation. And so they'll interpret it however they want in order to get their friends in. And it may be that they think their friends are very talented creatively. But it's not very fair. So I don't really know the answer. Is the bottom line. I know. I rarely say that. You could create a ranking system, maybe online. You could do a competition where everybody just votes. But even that's not legit either, right? Because you could have people who would game the system. There'd be no way to know, especially online. So I don't know. I think this is just going to create a bunch of... the only upside to me is they might eliminate some taxes, which in the short term would be good. Eventually they would come back in some other form, but yeah, lower the taxes. Man, it's always a good thing. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D. and Little Joan. I got to go to bed. We'll see you in East Hampton, historic Smithville Park tomorrow at 11 a.m. till 4 for the Earth Fair. And then at 7, we'll be doing the live stream. See ya tomorrow.